and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and today we are going to be going through my Birbfest 2024 sketchbook tour. Now, I didn't put all the birds in the sketchbook and this didn't fill the sketchbook, but I wanted to show you how I completed the 30-day challenge and I am so proud of myself. This is the first ever 30-day challenge I've actually ever completed and completed on time. As I go through each bird, I will kind of talk about the supplies I used and maybe a little bit about my process. First, I just want to say that this is a sketchbook I've made myself and it does open completely flat. I have a tutorial on how I made this sketchbook, which I will link above and in the description below if you are interested in checking it out. Now, in that video, I used watercolor paper, but for this one, I had actually used this Fabriano mixed media 108 pound or 160 GSM 9x12 paper, and basically I just folded the paper in half so that way I wasn't cutting anything. And I already had this sketchbook made. I didn't make it for Birbfest because as I start to talk about how things went, you will notice that I wasn't exactly happy with how the paper worked because I was primarily working with watercolors and it's not watercolor paper. So I am totally aware of that. So let's get started. All right, so first page, I was going to do a title page and put the prompt list like down here. I just haven't done that yet. That was something I was gonna go back and do later, but we can just imagine it's there. But I will say what each bird is, and I will also put it on the bottom of the screen somewhere so that you can see the name of each bird we are talking about. So, first spread. This is a groove build Ani. Now, this was day one, and I was not happy with this at all. I was pretty rusty getting into the challenge. I have not made art or sketches for a while prior to starting this. It was a mishmash of this Winsor & Newton pocket set and some colored pencils. It was just, I would say, a rough start. I was not excited. I was like, oh, this is not gonna go great. But my promise to myself was that I was going to make art every day and share it no matter what because I need to get out of this perfection, it's this crippling perfectionism where I just don't make anything at all. So day two, this was an evening grosbeak, and this one I thought went way better than this one, and it was still, again, some of the Winsor Newton Cotman set and some watercolor pencils. I found that this was really handy to bring onto the couch, and it was all very portable that I could just make art while sitting on the couch or watching TV, which made it easier to do every day. Over here we have day three. This is a green crowned plovercrest. It is a type of hummingbird. Now this one, it might be hard to tell, but I actually used some fine tech metallic watercolors because the hummingbird is very shiny. Here is this fine tech metallic watercolor set I used, and I used these three colors over here. I did do a base coat of the Cotman watercolors, and then I even did some details with some colored pencil over top, and I was pretty happy with how he turned out. Day four, this is an oxpecker. They are known to sit on the backs of animals, so that is what I tried to do, is incorporate it on an animal with some hair, and he had a funny little beak. And I'm still using watercolor and colored pencil at this point. Day five is a cerulean warbler. Now, I loved this piece. I think these two are possibly my favorite of the whole series. I felt like I really found a groove with these two and a style. So this was all 100% of the Cotman watercolor. I did not use any colored pencil at this point. I just did several layers to do this nest, and then I just did very minimal detail on this body, and it has this loose effect. I actually didn't want to draw the feet. This is a common theme that I hate drawing bird feet. Now this is day 6, and this is a blue throat. And again, really loved how he turned out. And I put him standing in the grass so you couldn't see the feet. And then to match day 5, I also did some splatter on the grass, and I just think it's the perfect style that I was going for this series, and I was really happy with them. I think this one actually got shared on the Birbfest account. I'll have to double check that, but really love these two. So day 7, this is a Scarlet Ibis. Now with this one, again, I wanted to hide the feet, but I also tried doing the reflection in the water and catching the sun on the beak and the back of the ibis. I think this turned out all right. I think it's a little, the perspective's a little distorted, but overall I was pretty happy with it. Over here we have day 8, which is the king penguin. It was very similar to the emperor penguin, but they are different, that I learned. And again, this is just the Cotman watercolor. I no longer have been using the colored pencil. I really don't find myself being a mixed media artist or considering myself a mixed media artist. So just very minimal. This is day 9, which is a white crested helmet shrike. And when I was looking for photos of this bird, the most interesting and eye-catching, no pun intended, was the eye of the bird itself. It looks like an actual sunflower, which I thought was pretty crazy to see. It's really interesting, the birds that I've learned about doing this. But instead of doing the whole body, I thought, well, why not just zoom in onto the face of the bird because it's got this crest. And as I was painting it, I wasn't happy with it. But afterwards, taking another look at it, I feel like I am pretty happy. It was a little hard to paint because it is a white cream colored bird. And so I had to kind of figure out how to paint that on the white paper. Over here we have day 10, and this is a curl crested Aracari. And I think it's because the feathers on the top of the head actually look like curls, which again look pretty neat. But this was a very brightly colored bird. I did hide his feet in this like little tree, and I'm not really happy with how different the legs are in terms of saturation. It looks a little off, but I was pretty happy overall with how he turned out. And I liked how I didn't keep them on their own individual pages. I've started to spread out across the page. So these are not my favorite. Over here we have a crested Caracara. At this point we're on day 10, and I have been looking at the hashtag and seeing other people do full backgrounds, which I really wanted to try out because I thought they looked beautiful, and I thought mine were kind of empty, so I wanted to try out a background, and I hated it. This one I went back to the mixed media. I used like acrylic gouache for the background and some details on the cactus, and then I just kind of did some colored pencil scribbles. I also picked a really hard pose to do where a lot of his body was in shadow. So overall, did not like it, bad day, bad burb day. And so then I still wanted to try and figure out this background thing, and these are Eclectus parrots, and this is the first time I actually do like a pair because they come in these different colors, and one is a male and female. I forgot which is which. I think the male is the red one, but this is the first time I do a male and female pair of multiple birds. And I wanted to try and do a background where they were like in the jungle. I don't know if it's just too saturated, it should have been lighter, or too textured or something, but I don't like how they came out. The feet I finally feel like turned out fine, but overall just unfortunately not happy with how that came out. Moving on, I went back to my normal style, and this is a day 13, so it's over here, but day 13 is a brown hooded kingfisher, and day 14 is the Egyptian goose. So let me show you close up. And I went back to my plain watercolor style, somewhat loose, no background, and I felt like I was back in my comfort zone with this. So I was like, I'm not doing backgrounds, they're just not for me. Maybe I just need more practice with them. And also, a funny thing happened was on the prompt list that I had, it was missing day 15, and I did not realize that until April Monkey Mintaka posted about it, and I was like, oh no, you know, I started sketching stuff on this page, so I had to do a whole separate page out of the book. And so I thought this would be the good opportunity to switch over to some watercolor paper. So day 15 is actually a blue jay. And so this piece of paper that I will show you, it is this 25% watercolor Fabriano fat pad. This is what I made my original watercolor sketchbook out of. So since I had to make him on a separate piece of paper, I figured it would be this paper, and I figured I would continue on using this paper. And I do really like how he turned out. So this is day 16, and I don't know how to say this properly, but it sounds like a bateleur? I'm not quite sure. I'll put the name on the screen. This again is my loose watercolor style. And I started to dislike the paper. I mean, I knew it wasn't watercolor paper. So day 17 is a violet cuckoo. And here again, I did a male and female pair because I thought they were very pretty. They have this like zebra striping underneath. And I just did a little leaf for some interest because the two sticks, it just seemed very plain, but I thought these were pretty. And then day 18 is a diamond firetail. So still just using the Cotman watercolor set. I put him on a branch with some shadow. And this one was a pretty simple bird. There wasn't very much to him. And then lastly on the sheet is the Grandala. I did not like how this one turned out, though in the picture they are, they're quite chubby birds, but I think I went too far and it just looked just not right. And then I was overworking the paper trying to get some light and shadow on here. And so after this, I was like, I don't know if I want to even continue on this paper. You know, I have some 100% cotton watercolor paper. Maybe we should try that. What I did is I started doing some sketches over here. And if you can see, there's a lot of erasing marks underneath. And that's because, in my opinion, I was wasting paper by just using it to sketch. So I would sketch my bird, put it on some trace paper to move to my 100% cotton watercolor paper, then erase it and keep reusing the same piece of paper. And at one point I was like, why am I doing this? You know, these are sketches that I think are decent enough. I should be leaving them in the book. So there are some sketches here and there, but I will show you the final piece. The next bird though, I did actually, it was erased and I threw out, I think, the tracing paper I used to transfer my sketch over, but that bird was a little bee eater. So I started using the Bao Hong Academy watercolor paper pad, 100% cotton, 300 GSM. It's a basically 7x5 little block. I hadn't used this paper yet, and then I thought because I was using the 100% cotton paper, I would then start to move over to my Mission Gold watercolor set that I really love. I've had these for a few years now. They're so vibrant. I really enjoy them. And I created this guy. And the vibrancy is just such a difference. The paper quality is great. I really enjoyed doing this. So I thought going forward, I was just gonna use this 100% cotton watercolor paper and never look back. So day 21 was a Perhaluxia. Again, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's also known as the Desert Cardinal. And I was using the Bao Hong 100% cotton paper again for this, and my Mission Gold watercolors, except for the background, I used, I believe it's called Shadow Green from the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau set. I was just filming that video when I was still working on the Birbfest, and I really loved the color. I thought it would make a perfect background. And because it's so granulating, like, I love the effects. So I was really happy with how this guy turned out. After that, day 22, I did a Paradise Tanager. That's what this sketch is. These also come in a ton of different colors, and I thought about at the time doing multiples to show the different color styles, but we are day 22 into the challenge, and I was like really forcing myself to get this done. I was so determined that this was going to be the challenge I finished, so I just did the one that I liked, and it is this guy. So again, 100% cotton Bao Hong paper, Mission Gold watercolors. I don't know if you've noticed, but throughout this challenge, I've tried to do somewhat different poses, and I'm still working on these bird feet, but I thought this guy turned out very bright, very colorful. Really happy about that. Day 23 was a California sage grouse. Sage grouse? Grouse? Hated it. I did not like the bird, don't enjoy the painting. It was very, very hard to paint and draw. I did not find it interesting. It was a very weird bird. So I just kind of forced myself on this one. I tried to get, like, in the photo, I think there was like some sun streaming onto him, and I tried to pick that up with the yellowish color, but I mean, I'm happy I did something, but just not happy with that. And because I wasn't happy with the bird, I wasn't going to do it on the cotton paper, so that's why I moved back to this sketchbook, because I feel like it's less precious. I can be real quick about it and get it done with. Next day is day 24, which is a Crimson Chat. So here is the sketch. I did trace my sketch onto tracing paper, and then I flipped it over to trace onto the 100% cotton watercolor paper, and here he is. Again, when I'm using the 100% cotton paper, I use my Mission Gold watercolors. I like how this little guy turned out. Day 25 is a Polish chicken. Now you can see I marked some squares here on the paper, and that's because I was measuring the size of the cotton paper because if I was going to transfer it, I didn't want to make it too large where it wouldn't fit on this paper. So for this Polish chicken, they are very funny looking with a ton of feathers on their head, like so much you can't even see their eyes. And I was trying to figure out how I was gonna fit the whole chicken on the paper, and I was sketching out a few things and just wasn't really happy with it. And I was like, well, the main focus is the head, right? Like that's the funniest part. So I'm just gonna do the head. And even though I'm on the cheap paper, I really like how it turned out. I feel like you can really see the different layers and the shadow and like the brush strokes. I did a lot of dry brushing here. So I feel like it really looks like feathers. So yeah, I was actually happy with how it turned out, even though it was the cheaper paper. Day 26, it is a goldfinch. I knew I wanted to do this on 100% cotton watercolor paper, so I transferred my sketch. Here it is, and then here is the final piece. So I love how vibrant these Mission Gold colors are on this 100% cotton paper, and I was really happy with how this turned out. This was the first time I was actually leaving the white areas open instead of painting them with either the white gouache or acrylic gouache. Yeah, really happy how that turned out. Day 27, we have a pukiko. I think that's how you say it. This is a really like goofy bird. He's got like really big feet, but I just kind of went back to my loose watercolor style in this sketchbook. Now, if I didn't have like a clear picture or if I didn't feel confident in the painting, then I wasn't going to use the 100% cotton watercolor paper because I didn't want to waste it. So I did this guy here on the mixed media paper. It was just the cotton watercolor set, no pencils or anything, and I feel like it helped me be looser as well. So I'm happy with how he turned out, and his foot's pretty decent. Day 28 is this red and yellow barbet. Really like this bird. Again, I was nervous about doing the 100% cotton watercolor paper, so I did it here, and I'm really happy. After doing the Polish chicken and figuring out how I could really work with the layers, I felt like it helped me learn how to use what I had available to me. I'm not happy with the tail because I outlined it, and I don't think I should have done that because it looks a little weird because the bird isn't outlined. Not really happy with the feet, but overall pretty happy with how the bird came out. Day 29 is a snow bunting. So I did the sketch and then I transferred it to the watercolor block of the 100% cotton paper, and pretty happy with how this little guy came out, my little snow angel. I did some dry brushing to show some snow and how it reflected underneath. This came about pretty quickly because there wasn't much to it. It's a very pale bird. And then I tried to do some little accent colors on him. So we're coming up to the end here, and we have the harpy eagle. This is day 30. I did paint this guy here on this mixed media paper, but I did also sketch him in case I wanted to try doing it on the 100% cotton paper. But I was pretty happy with how he turned out here, so that I didn't feel the need to repaint him. I was really happy with how the sketch was. I felt like the sketch was better than the painting. He's a very creepy guy. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how he came out. I did a little bit of outlining so you could kind of tell where his body shapes are, because again, he's pretty white or cream colored on most of him. Very big though, very big claws. Like, I hope that kind of comes through. And then last but not least, we have the white browned tit warbler, which I think it's funny that he's named this because actually he's quite colorful. And again, I hid his feet and I kind of just did him on some brush standing there. So this is the last little guy. I posted him on time, so really happy about that. He does look very, like his feathers are very individual, so I tried to convey that. But yeah, that is the last bird, and I was so proud of myself for completing this challenge. I also really enjoyed searching the hashtag every day, looking at some other people's artwork and creations. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing my adventure through Birbfest 2024. If you participated in Birbfest, let me know in the comments below. Put your Instagram handle. I'd love to check out what you guys did. I considered possibly making a zine. I'm not really sure if that would be of interest to anybody, but I thought it would be a nice little collection of the artwork. I know a lot of people do that with all their pieces, so let me know if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I mean that the sketchbook is going to be almost full, so there will be a sketchbook tour coming up. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!